Hey everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing you another SWGEmu video. This video is essentially my recommendations for grinding credits as a combat profession after the Publish 8 merge. Now, why is it important to say that this is post-Pub 8? Well, if you saw my Publish 8 patch notes video, you might recall me mentioning that there is a pretty significant change to the way mission payouts were calculated, and the effects of this change were pretty severe. Now, the footage you see here is actually from an old video I did covering how to grind credits as a combat profession prior to Pub 8. This video is less than a month short of being 2 years old, but the information is only now outdated due to the Publish 8 change. So prior to Publish 8, the most effective way of grinding credits as a combat profession was to use what's called a solo group. You would get into a group with a bunch of other people, typically an entertainers group. And in that group would also be either a Bull Rancor or an ATST. You would then fly out to like a high-level planet such as Dantooine or Dathomir, and because the group you were in was so large and powerful, the missions that you would be able to pick up on the terminals would pay out somewhere in the 25 to 27,000 credit range. Now, and remember, this is how it worked prior to Publish 8. When you completed those missions, since you were by yourself, or solo, hence solo group, you would receive the full mission payout. Group members that were out of range would receive nothing, but you would receive their share of the reward. Now, Publish 8 changed the way this part works. Technically speaking, solo groups still exist. However, now, when you complete a mission, the cut of the payout that is supposed to go to the group members that are out of range simply vanishes instead of being split amongst those that were in range. In other words, if you were in a group with 10 people and you complete a 25,000 credit mission, you're only going to get 2,500 credits regardless of who else in the group is nearby. Ouch. Okay, so here we are post-Publish 8. I'm in the city Orion on Dantooine, which is an improved job market city, so that'll help our payouts a little bit. Let's check the mission terminal, see what we can get. Note, I'm not in a group, and we can no longer get Janta missions as just being solo. So, mission payouts, definitely not what they used to be. We're looking at 16,000 for Dantari Battlelord, 13,000, 11,000. So 16,000 seems to be about the highest you can get by yourself, which still isn't bad. If you absolutely have to, you could just come here as a master level profession, like I'm a Master Terraskasi, and just grind missions by yourself, and you'll still make a decent amount of money. Not what you used to be able to make, but decent. Now, there was a rumor that if you group with a pet or a droid, it increased the mission or the group strength, so you get higher level missions. Now, pets or droids do not actually take a chunk of the mission payout, so this does work. However, you can see here it doesn't really seem to be increasing the payout of the missions by much. This one's 16,500, so maybe it does a little. I think this might have a bigger impact on some of the starter worlds like Corellia, Naboo, Tatooine, but out here it doesn't really have that big of an impact. However, that's because I'm grouped with a non-combat droid. I think if you had a combat droid that actually had fighting skills, that might be different. Now, I tried to group here with this level 9 pet that somebody gave me, and I couldn't actually group with it. I don't know if it was ever trained to be able to join a group, but for some reason I couldn't train it to join a group. I would think I would have to give it to a creature handler. So I wasn't able to test that. However, I did have one of my guild members, who you could see here, Khazar, come out and help me test something else, because as you can see, he is an Imperial. I had him grab or try to see what kind of level missions he could get, and initially he only was able to get the same 16,000 credit missions as I was, but he has one little thing that I, as a neutral player, do not have, and that is an ATST. Now, the ATST is one of the two things that, solo groups used to use in order to increase the level of the group. So, now, knowing that pets do not take cuts of the mission payouts, and knowing that ATST is one of the most powerful pets in the game, Imperial players have a really significant advantage here. They have the ability to group with their ATST, and he was able to get 25,000, 27,000 credit missions grouped with his ATST. Now, I don't know if the ATST can help you fight, because last I heard, combat or faction pets can only fight with faction-based targets. But someone will have to clarify in the comments on that, because I've never been able to test it. So, getting an ATST, I'm not really going to cover that in this video. That's just one option on how to do that, but you do need to be Imperial, and you need to get a bunch of faction points and rank up. I don't know exactly how many faction points it is. I know the amount you need varies based on what species you are, and I know it's like in the 10 or 12,000 faction point range, so it's pretty high up there. So here's what I've been doing. I happen to have a bounty hunter. Hi. So, if you have a bounty hunter character, and you don't even need to be a master bounty hunter, all you actually need is investigation 3. You don't need to be master, you don't need any of these other skills over here. As long as you have investigation 3 and master of some sort of combat profession, then you should be able to do this method. First place I would do is I would be in Kadara on Naboo, which if you're already a bounty hunter, you probably are familiar with this, but the bounty hunter terminals are right out front of the starport here, and you can see I usually sort by payment or payout, and if I refresh enough times, you're going to find missions anywhere between like 40 to 70,000 credits, and I usually look for the ones that are around 63 or 64 or above, and you want to look at the mission difficulty. You're looking for 355 in the mission difficulty, so that doesn't work. There you go. So 355 is what you're looking for, and usually if you take a mission that pays a little bit above 60,000, that's average. Like I said, you can find one, if you refresh enough times, you can find one that's above 70,000, and anything below 61, 62,000, you're kind of wasting your time. But these difficulty 355 missions can be found anywhere between those two, or those payout ranges. So that's what you want to find. Once you find one of those, all you have to do to get to the Spynet op, there's one in this city, which is why Karen is such a commonly used city for bounty hunting. You just talk to the Spynet op, drive outside, call down your probe droid, get the mission, go out, kill a target, and boom, a little over 60,000 credits. Yes, this does take longer per mission, but I don't know. I found it more effective than grinding, like the 17, 18,000 credit missions on Dantooine solo, since I do not have an ATST. For someone who does not have an ATST to group with, this is probably more effective, but to somebody who does not have an ATST and does not have a bounty hunter, then unfortunately, just grinding those missions by yourself is going to be your most effective way to getting credits. Alright, so the reason you choose a bounty mission of difficulty 355 and only 355 is because every 355 mission is always going to give you this same Tusken Raider looking bounty target. Now if we examine this dude and look at like his damage resistances, you can see he's got 85% resistance to kinetic, but only 60% to energy, 30% to blast, and 100% to both electricity and heat. However, his vulnerabilities stun, cold, acid, and lightsaber. So, for me, acid and stun are pretty easy to you. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on your profession, but for me, I'm a rifleman. So I have the DXR-6 rifle, which is an acid rifle, which means he has 0% resistance to my damage. Alternatively, if you're a pistolier, you get a DX2 pistol, also acid damage. If you're a fencer, you could use stun baton. So you have a couple different options with these targets to basically have 0 damage resistance on them at all. And it's really easy to take them down as long as you're buffed and armored, and make sure you're in melee range. That way they don't use any of like the really powerful special moves on you. As long as you keep them in melee range, you pretty much can out-tank anything that they do to you, because they will occasionally blind, dizzy, knockdown, and bleed. But in melee, you get less of that, so yeah, that's what I would suggest. I do hear that, I mean, we haven't really talked about the whole point of what this update was, which the whole point of this update was to try to encourage people to actually group up and actually go out and do missions together as a group. And yes, you can totally do that, because if everybody in the group is present, then when the payout is divided amongst the group members, everybody gets their share and there's no money lost. So you'd think that, like, well, isn't that the fastest way to do it? Not really. I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say, because let's look at some math here. Let's compare it to the old system, all right? Let's say you have a group of 3 players. So just a small group. If each player grabs 2 missions for 25k each, then each player's missions together are worth 50k. That's each player's, because you have 2 missions. Now, if you go out and do all 6 missions as a group, that means your group would have earned a total of 150k. But it would be split 3 ways. Each player would only walk away with their 50k, right? Which is what their 2 missions were worth. So you just did 6 missions, and you're still only walking away with the amount of money that you would have if you'd done 2 missions on your own. Yes, the pay is a little bit higher, right? Because you're getting 25k missions instead of like the 19k. So yes, you lose out on roughly 10k. But I mean, let's keep going into this. So, all right, so you invested the amount of time it took to complete 6 missions. If you compare that to the previous system, if 3 players did 6 missions at 25k a mission, then each player would walk away with 150k, meaning that all 3 players combined would have earned 450k. It just doesn't compare. Now, I mean, some would say that you complete missions faster in a group than you do solo, and to that, I say poppycock. As a TKM, I spin down a layer in about 30 seconds. If I was grouped with 10 other players, sure, maybe we'd be able to destroy the layer in about 5 seconds, but even that's only a difference of like 25 seconds. The majority of the time you spend grinding missions isn't actually fighting the layer, it's like the traveling that you do from mission to mission. And yes, there's an argument to be had that with more group members getting missions in the same direction, that you don't have to go back to the city to pick up more missions as frequently. But even then, you're saving maybe a minute or 2 in travel time. It's not the same. It's nowhere even close to the how efficient solo groups were prior to Publish 8. So I don't know. I mean, to me, the bounty hunting thing has been working. I buff up, I go out, I do bounty hunter missions for 2 hours, which is, you know, about a little less than 2 hours, because the amount of time it takes you to get back, usually there's a couple minutes left on your entertainer buffs. And like, I haven't even been really focusing on it. Usually I'll be doing bounty hunter missions while I'm doing something on another character, so I'm not always 100% focused on the bounty hunter. And even then, I usually pull over 500,000 credits in under 2 hours. So, I mean, you do that for a couple hours a night, you can make several million credits just doing bounty hunter missions. I know you can't slice the terminals anymore, but you still make decent money. I mean, I don't know. This is what I found. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on it. Any more details or comments or anything you want to share, let me know. But, yeah, I'm going to have to do a video about making money as a non-combat profession sometime in the future. So look forward to that. Look forward to some other stuff. Still got big announcements coming a little later once they're more, worked on. But, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope this video helps. Mobius1 here, and I'll see you next time.